Welcome to another intimate conversation with women of color. I am your host, Deneen L. Garrett, and today we have Ericka Spradley. Ericka, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Deneen.
You are welcome. And so, for those who may be new, this is a podcast as well as on YouTube. So make sure that you watch, you listen, you subscribe, and you share. Let's help us elevate the voices of women of color. So just to tell you a
Yes.
little bit, just a little bit about Erica, because there's so much that can be said, and I definitely will share her bio. But Ericka Spradley is a career management strategist. She believes every woman should excel at worth and know their work. Ericka, tell us more about you.
And how much time do we have?
Right?
How far back
However
are
much
we
time
going
you
to
leave,
go?
girl, you need it.
Well, thank you so much. It's so funny. You mentioned my bio, and although my bio reads nice now, that wasn't always the case. So I'm going to step away from the bio just for a minute to say that I am someone who woke up in her 30s and had no college degree and no clarity.
Mm,
So I knew what I did not want to do, but couldn't articulate what I wanted to do. So I, like so many other women, I was stuck. And so I wanted a better quality of life, which meant, for me, at least from a work life balance perspective, Deneen, is I wanted to be able to go to church on Sundays. And at the time, I was managing a retail store. And so if nobody showed up, Erica needed to be
mm.
there. The bulk of the traffic happened on the weekends. So after having a conversation with my district manager, I basically decided that it was best that I strategically plan my exit. And that's what I did. I gave them a 6 week notice, took all the money out of my 401k, put my resume online, and went on vacation. And during that season, a recruiter from a bank contacted me. I had no idea I was even qualified to work for a bank because, again, I had no college degree, no clarity. And that's when the light bulb went off that skills are transferable and you can position yourself on paper. And when you can speak to your expertise in an interview, you can transition into industries that you may have second guessed. And of course, you can increase your salary. So that's a little bit about Erica beyond the bio.
No, and I absolutely love that because you're right. Skills are transferable. And ironically, a couple of weeks ago, having a conversation with someone in the media, entertainment industry. And we were talking about that. But the things that she was talking about, again, were transferable, right? What she
Yes,
was talking about for someone, a creative who is interested in, writing shows, movies, the same type of skill set and the same type of efforts that you would put into being successful in that, you can also transfer that to the corporate world and whatnot. So absolutely. So good for
absolutely.
you.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. And so
And
I
you
was
meant,
able to, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, no, no. I was going to
Okay.
just say that you mentioned retail. And so you are definitely stylish, you're, so that
Thank
explains
you.
it.
Oh, thank you. You are too kind. It's so funny, talking about those transferable skills. After that light bulb went off for me, leaving the retail world, going into banking, I also have been blessed to do that again and go into academia. I was a college and career readiness adjunct professor for 2 years, and my degree is not in education, and I'd never formally taught in a classroom. So it's just been a fascinating journey for me, Deneen, since I took that leap of faith and then ended up becoming an entrepreneur, working full time, finishing up my bachelor's degree, navigating and managing my career to where we are now. And the lessons that I've learned, which I now teach to other women so they can shortcut their success.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's also how we met. So we did meet about 2 or 3 years ago in Vegas at the Women of Power Summit. And when I
Yes.
saw you, I had recognized you from social media, right? LinkedIn, somewhere. And, I approached you and say, hey, introduce myself, because I love it whenever, you have these virtual friends and connections and whatnot, and
Yes.
then you have the opportunity to meet in person. And we've stayed connected ever since. So I
Ever
just wanted to
since.
share with those who are listening or watching how I know Ericka Spradley. So
And
Good for
thank you
you.
so much, yes, for introducing yourself right at that conference, because I remember even seeing you at the AT&T event while
Yeah.
we were in Vegas as well. So we kept running into each other, and to that point, staying in touch. But so often we get into these environments where it's like, well, I don't know if I should speak, or maybe it's sometimes I don't even want to speak, right? And you miss out on so much because we gain so much, Deneen, through
Yeah.
relationship. Too many times we're focused, especially in career, on performance and not the people. And you need both. There would be no confident career woman if it weren't for women like you and the women who follow me and invite me on their platform and say, can you coach me? And those kinds of things. So we all need each other. And I'm just grateful for you and what it is you do. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. I appreciate that. Yes, absolutely. So, how does having a platform to use your voice help Black women excel at work and know their worth?
Girl. And immediately I thought, how much time do we have? I
I
can't
know,
go to
I
that
was thinking
place
the
every
same
time you ask the
thing.
question. So it's interesting because my experience in the workplace consists of being taught to get a job, but not manage your career.
Mm,
And
mm,
I have
mhm.
found that that has been consistent, not just, with friends and family, but with women that I've met, whether that was coaching or we were colleagues. So even though you may be taught or told to get a job, and that's an aspect of managing your career, that's not enough.
Right.
So we just talked a little bit about relationships. I tell women, you need a mentor, a sponsor, and a coach at every level of your career. You need visibility strategies. You need to leverage your expert power, right? So it's the value you bring to the organization and ultimately managing your career as a business and seeing yourself as a solution. Your expertise literally solving a need. It's also making sure you know how to master the invisible rules. Every organization, every culture has a different set of rules. So we show up like, we're getting ready to kill it.
Right.
We're getting ready
Right.
to do this work, but you also need to have the wisdom to observe as well, because there are just some things that you are not going to find on the intranet. So it's all of these things and, so much more, right? So my platform, Excel at Work and Know Your Worth, being able to confidently prepare for and have these compensation conversations. All of these things I wasn't taught.
Yeah.
So I had to learn these things along the way. And now I use my platform to share content and strategies that help Black women do that. And so much so, every year I dedicate a podcast episode called A Black Woman's Worth at Work to Black women on equal pay day.
Okay.
And this year, I decided to take it up a notch, and I'm going to launch through my career club my course, Stop Sitting on Your Ask, which will
Oh,
help women. Yes, you can't afford to do that. We came up, some of us, at a time, Deneen, where your work spoke for you. That's not necessarily the case anymore. You
yes.
need to be comfortable self-advocating, asking for the promotion, asking for the raise. So those are some of the tools that will be in that course. But also, I'm dedicating a specific resource to Black women in the workplace, simply because the experiences are so unique. And Lean In released a study recently, the state of Black women in corporate America. And right after the introduction, it specifically states the workplace is worse for Black women. So we need resources and content and strategies that help us move beyond performance, but navigating these workspaces
Yes.
as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what's interesting about that, exactly what you just said is what I do. That's what I do in a workplace. Absolutely. I'm leading a program and I'm constantly
Mhm.
saying, preparing, preparing those tools to help women of color navigate the workspace, right? So specifically at the company as well as in spaces in general. Absolutely, because we
Yes.
have to do it for ourselves. Like you said, those days of, head down, doing well in your work and somebody comes and tap you, it still happens for a few, but it's but not everybody else. Yeah, and it's becoming less and less. And also, what you find is even those who maybe tap, they're probably only tapped at one time. It's only going to go so
Right.
far. And so at
Yeah.
some point, you have to do what you said in the beginning is, you know, decide what you want for your life. Like you said, you want to go to church on Sunday, so you have to make some changes, and
Yes.
so it's for us, Black women, women of color, to make a decision as to what do we want our life to be and to put in the work to make that happen for ourselves.
Yes. And so it's defining success, whether that's personal or professional, what that means for you, and then taking the steps to achieve that, right, on your own terms, because everybody's path is different.
Mhm.
And so when you know what you want, you know what to give your yes to as well as what to give
Yes.
your no to. And to that point, right? So in the workplace, if you are fortunate enough to have a leader or someone who taps you so that you can experience career mobility. For those women who don't experience that, what happens? For so many years academically, we are rewarded for putting our head down and doing the work.
Yeah.
But when you get in the workplace, the game changes. I literally had a coaching client who contacted me and said, Erica, if I don't get promoted in 12 months, I'm leaving the organization. And I said, well, who have you spoken to about your promotion? And it got silent.
Mm.
Even still in 2021, we are still thinking when I show up and do the work,
Yeah.
someone will recognize it. There are just some things, Deneen, that we have to unlearn that worked for a particular season that we have to assess and be honest with ourselves and say, does this work for me now? Even talking to women over the years who've said, I have to work twice as hard, or I'm doing the work of two and three people. And I say to them, well, how many paychecks do you get?
Right.
And then we
Oh,
start to unpack, like,
yeah. Yes. Yes.
why are you doing all of this work in absence of the rewards? So I really enjoy having these conversations and helping people achieve their goals in a way that works best for them.
I absolutely love it. And so you talked a lot already about how you're using your voice for Black women, of
Mhm.
course, as a career management strategist in the podcast, the annual event you're doing. You also manage a Facebook group for women who have gone to, or, women of power. How else are you using your voice for Black women?
Yeah, so I love to hang out in that Women of Power group and engage women. I do a lot of behind the scenes work, to be honest with you. So I tell people my best moments or my greatest accomplishments, they don't happen on social media.
Yeah.
So, for example, when you and I met in Vegas, one of the hats that I was wearing was the director of collegiate relations for National Black MBA. And so while my business is to work with mid-level professional women, sometimes that's late in the game. So how can we peel this back and start to reach those women and those individuals even before they get to that place, right? So as a director of collegiate relations, a position I held here in North Carolina for 2 years, a part of my responsibility was to leverage relationships with HBCUs and other
Mhm.
colleges and universities to make sure that we were set up to succeed professionally. So that's one way that I've used my voice behind the scenes. In terms of beyond the Women of Power group, right? I literally have, I'm not going to call them events, right? You turn on Zoom, you let people know you're going to be on Zoom, and you have these conversations. So I will send out email blasts to those who have signed up for my emails, my courses, my newsletter. And sometimes I will get together on a Sunday night and have a live Q&A session. And so you may not be able to afford coaching, but it doesn't cost you anything to log on and get your questions answered specifically for what it is you need.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm sure that, on those occasions when you're coaching, strategizing, in just any of the spaces that you've filled, I'm sure you come across some women who haven't recognized the power of their voices. And the voice could be speaking, right? It could be having a
Mhm.
conversation, it could be writing, it could be dancing, however you express yourself is how I like to define using your voice. What do you
Yeah.
tell those women? What have you told those women who haven't recognized the power of their voices?
It's so interesting, Deneen, because, again, everybody's journey is different.
Yeah.
And so I try not to lead from a place of telling. but
Mhm.
from a place of understanding and from a place of curiosity. I want to know how we got here, right? How do we get to a place where you may feel like I don't have the confidence to use my voice? Because I believe that we as women are all born powerful.
Mhm.
What has happened in life to
Right.
make us feel as though we should choose silence? And once we start to unpack that, it's basically me encouraging them where they are. And if there's a resource or a strategy that I can share with them, information to help them where they are, of course I do that. But in terms of using your voice, I started my book, Confident Career Woman, principle number one, with you are fearfully and wonderfully made, because I want women to know that even in those moments where people question you,
Yeah.
where you question yourself, this isn't about perfection.
Mhm.
This is about you recognizing who you are, that you are enough, and that you can still move forward in absence of other people's expectations. We can't allow life and situations and others to silence us. That's not to say that we can't be strategic with what we share and
Right.
what we choose to say. It's just in knowing that even when we talk about, women who feel like they may not deserve to be in the room, I tell women all the time, you deserve to be in every room you enter,
Right? Every room.
every room.
Wherever
I
you
don't care who
choose.
is I don't care who's sitting at the table. Take your seat because you
Right?
belong in the room just like everybody else, regardless of title.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm definitely with you on that one. So I just want to pause and just remind. So if you are listening or watching, thank you so much for being here for an intimate conversation with women of color. Today's guest is Ericka Spradley. She is a career management strategist and so much more. And I'm actually fascinated by the pivot from retail to all these amazing things that you're doing. Right. To, I mean, everything. And because you're dropping a whole bunch of gems here, about helping women to be successful and excelling in the workplace, knowing their worth, all of that, right?
Yeah.
And so, how exactly did you get there? Just maybe three things.
I was gonna say, and how much time do we have? Okay, so how much time do we have? So, how did I get there? So, the first thing I'll say is this. Sometimes, Denise, we are so focused on, I don't know where I want to go. I don't
Mhm.
know, what I want to do. I have to have a plan. And while those things are important, my clarity came from knowing what I did not want to do.
Yeah,
And so start where you are with what you have and be willing to take action, whatever that means for you. We were not necessarily taught to manage your career from the perspective of transferable skills. Doing so will, again, expand your career options and can help you increase your salary.
yeah.
So, while yes, I placed my resume online, I'm always ready for the interview. When I know that I am ready to move, I don't wait until that phone rings to prepare. I start preparing when I start applying. You stay ready so that you don't have to get
That's
ready.
right.
So, the third thing that I will share is do not do it alone.
Mm,
I recognize that not everybody has, a squad. Not everybody has the same level of support. But I have reached out to strangers and built connections. I have reached out to people I don't know and asked for mentorship. So don't do it alone. Success is never a solo act. If the people who are closest to you can't support your dreams, that's not necessarily to say you need to let them go.
right.
That's to say you just need another set of people to support you along your journey.
Absolutely, because everybody, has a role to play and they may support you in some other kind of way. Like whatever
Yeah.
position they're currently playing, that's their
Mhm.
position.
That's their
They're
position.
and kind of throwing sports, and not that I'm a big sports person, but they're first base. You know what I'm saying? They're not
Yeah.
equipped to pitch. And
That's right.
that's
That's right.
okay. That's
Yes. And
absolutely
so
okay.
we have these expectations of them
Yes.
that they weren't built for. And
Hmm.
then we
Hmm.
have these expectations of ourselves that are sometimes unrealistic and we can't see outside of ourselves. So that's another benefit of having people who can support you and help you go further faster. For myself with my journey, even beyond the transferable skills and preparing for the interview, I didn't get my first mentor until I was in my 30s.
Hmm.
I'm from Hampton, Virginia. No one was talking about mentors. No one was talking about coaches, sponsors. We didn't have and still don't have a thriving downtown or uptown area where you can see professionals going to work every single day. That wasn't my experience. So I learned so much later in the workplace that has helped me accomplish all of these things. But it's been an amazing journey that I would not trade for anything.
Yes, and you know what? And so that's key as well, is recognizing it's a journey, that it's not going to happen tomorrow. In some cases, it
Yeah.
could, but it is a journey, and to enjoy it, right? That's the other thing, to enjoy that journey and
Mhm.
try different things, and everything is okay. Because, like for you, you're pouring into other women, you're investing in other women. So it
Yeah.
wasn't supposed to happen overnight. Like, what are you gonna
No.
tell me if it happened for you overnight? How do I duplicate that?
Right.
You
Right.
know? So
Yes.
yeah.
What I can tell women is don't settle. Whatever
Right.
you do, do not settle. I realized looking back at the time, I didn't think I was settling, but for so many years, Deneen, I was settling. I
Yes.
was living by default and not by design. And when I got to that place where I started thinking about, okay, what is it that I want to achieve? Even when
Mhm.
I didn't know all of the steps in terms of how to get it done, at least I started with a plan and saying, this is what I definitely know that I want. And everything that I have been blessed to experience with Confident Career Woman is a result of doing just that, saying, this is what I want. Now let me start to take the
Yes,
steps to get there.
absolutely.
Here
I'm
we are.
telling folks, yes, I'm telling folks that all the time. You have to know that. You have to know that, because if not, you're just there. You're going through the emotions, and you're living somebody else's life. So whatever the vision that they have for you,
Yes,
right?
yes, that's right. You're living somebody else's vision instead of your own. And it's common, right?
Yeah.
We don't
Yes.
know what we don't know. And it's not until sometimes we are challenged, or I tell people in one of my latest podcast episodes, pain is a phenomenal motivator.
Mm,
When you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you will make some adjustments. You will definitely
absolutely.
make some adjustments.
Absolutely. So, along your journey, you may
Yeah.
have had a dream deferred. Have you had a dream deferred? And if so, what did you do about it? How did you handle it?
That's a good question. Um, I don't know that I had a dream deferred as much as I know that I stopped dreaming.
Mm,
And
mm,
so while I may not be able to say, I had a dream and this happened, or I made this choice, and so that dream got put on hold. That wasn't the case. I just remember, Deneen, as a child having dreams.
yeah.
One of those dreams was to be on Fame with Debbie Allen, but we'll talk about that later.
Leroy.
Girl, I used to practice fame costs, and right here is where you start paying in sweat. You could not tell me I was not going to meet Debbie Allen when I was a kid. So, just becoming an adult, right, and being more responsible and working and priority shifting, I recognized at some point in time as an adult that I'd stopped dreaming.
Mm,
And that's when I started to become more intentional. So when I started my business, which was in 2010, it wasn't called Confident Career Woman. My business at that time was called My Next Level. And there
okay.
was a heavy emphasis on high school students, college students, and adults to help them with job strategies, to make sure they could master that interview so they can make more money and experience career mobility. So much so, two of my three books were published during that time. One for high school students and one called 7 Days to Confident Interviews. But being intentional in saying, I want to start this business. I want to make sure that people learn the lessons that I did with intention and before it's too late. I then said, okay, a part of my dream is I want to be able to work from anywhere as long as I have an internet connection and a phone. Well,
Right.
here we are. A part of that dream was I want to make sure that when people can't access Ericka, they can still access her brain. And so I started my online course platform. So I have a career course platform that now houses a career club for women. So at any point in time, if they can't get a coaching session and they're a member of this career club, they can log on and get the resources that they need to better manage their career. So much so, Deneen, I created free courses because I want to help women around the world.
Yeah.
So there are free courses on that platform that women can sign into to help them better manage their career. After I realized that I had stopped dreaming, even though it wasn't a dream deferred, my dreams have now become a reality because I began to live with intention.
Love it. Love it. So you stopped dreaming and started living.
I did. I did. I got a life. You can say it,
Okay.
Deneen.
I love that. No, that's great because
Mhm,
sometimes folks just get stuck dreaming, and they stay in
mhm.
that perpetual state like, okay, I wanna. Well, no, 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 no. That's great to start. But you have to start putting in that work,
Yeah.
that action.
Yeah, it's so funny you mentioned that. I ran into a girlfriend yesterday when I was running errands. I heard somebody say, Erica. So I turned around in my mask and I was like, hey, girl. And we just started talking because, of course, life happens to everyone and you don't get to talk to people as often as you'd like. And so she said, what's been going on? What are you up to? And I told her, and she was like, girl, you are goals. And I was like,
Mm,
what? And she said, I have been saying for the longest time what I want to do, what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And you say you're going to do something and you do it.
yes,
So I don't think about stuff like that, right? I'm just thinking, this is what I want to accomplish. This is
hmm,
the impact I want to have. How do I go after it? But people are always watching.
yes, they
And
are.
even when we don't realize it, right? We are inspiring, teaching, sometimes teaching people what not to do. But we have to get to a place where we are okay with taking action.
Absolutely.
Those consistent incremental steps over time will get you to goal achievement. I promise you. Coming from a woman who did not have a plan for most of her life, I can assure you, seeing this from both sides of the table, take action in the direction of your dreams and your goals and start
Yes.
to live differently and live life.
Yes, live differently. That's a good one
Yes.
as well. And so, again, we'll share Erica's bio, ways to connect with her. She's dropped, multiple ways that she could pour into you, invest in what you're wanting to do with your life. So make sure that you check her out. But before we wrap, Erica, June is Black Music and Pride Month. How do you
Yes.
relate the two,
Yeah.
and which resonates and why?
Hmm. That's a tough question.
And
Because
you can answer however you want to answer about Black music and Pride Month.
and I guess what gets me stuck, right, is relating the two.
Yes, right.
Um,
Hmm.
so when I think about a month and it being dedicated to something, right, it's usually around honoring or bringing awareness, visibility, celebratory, right? So with Black Music Month, that resonates with me for so many reasons. I told you I wanted to be on fame, but
Yeah.
I grew up, listening to music and loving music, and I still do. So much so, Club Quarantine with D Nice
Oh,
has been a
yes.
part of my self-care strategy, during the pandemic. So, Black music has always been a part of our culture, a part of my life, an escape, therapy before therapy became a trending topic, right? You could listen to something that you could relate to help you get through something, whether that's faith-based music or just a love song that you could relate to when you were going through some relationship trials and tribulations. But I have always adored Black music, and I'm sure I always will. Even when I think about Pride Month, Deneen, when I think about Pride Month, it's necessary. I am a firm believer. I don't like disrespect. I don't like discrimination. And I feel like even in those times where we may not agree or there's a difference of opinions and views, we don't get to choose discrimination as our default. And so to be able to celebrate the uniqueness of others, whether that is through Pride Month, whether that is through the contributions of people who have contributed to the culture through Black music, they're both very necessary.
Absolutely, absolutely. And and for me, thinking about music, I remember like years ago trying to remember something, but I had to relate it to a song. And once I was able to
Yeah.
like kind of think about that song, I was able to put everything together, put those pieces together. So absolutely, music is it,
Yes.
it is so key and critical. It absolutely is.
Yes. I just love music. I can't think of a time in my life where music wasn't an aspect of that chapter or
Yeah.
that season, whether it was my club years, whether that was remembering like relatives cleaning up around the house on a Saturday morning. I
Right.
mean, I I have on Spotify LTD, Denise.
Oh, yes.
I've been listening to this music for a long,
Oh my goodness.
long time. So, when you think about, some of the music from that era, and then,
Yeah.
going into the 80s, I just bought a book not even 2 weeks ago on Michael Jackson. Like that was my first crush. I had a Beat It
Girl,
jacket.
me too.
Yeah. So, when you think about your life and your journey, and I used to love concerts and I still do. So
Same
much so
here.
that I'm going to the club quarantine event in Hollywood in August to
Okay.
enjoy the music and just to live
Yeah,
and create some new
right?
memories.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
yeah. So all of that, everything that you just said, I was trying to remember a song. So Love Ballad and um, Where Did We Go Wrong? And
Yes. Right
back
back in
in.
love again.
Oh yeah, there it is. That one right there.
Yes.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yeah. And listen,
Yes.
my dad actually was in the entertainment business, and so we were always at concerts and whatnot, right? Prince when he first came out, and I'll never forget. It was Prince and Rick James. Now, Rick James was hot. He was the man at that time. Prince, of course, he opened up for him and did his
Yes.
thing. When Rick James came
Yes.
out, oh, he was heated. He was
Oh
heated.
my
Yes.
gosh.
But yeah.
Rick James, I remember those album covers. I can't believe I'm saying albums in 2021. But
Yes,
Rick James with the tall red boots and
girl,
even
to the
Prince with the
knees. Yes.
with the afro and no shirt. I mean, people lived to get an album that you could open up and the lyrics and everything were included back then. I mean, just music tells so many stories
Yeah, it
and
does.
has helped us navigate so many things in life. I can't just place it in 1 month.
Right.
It's an all year thing for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, yes, yes, yes. So Erica Spradley, before we wrap, what would you
Yes.
like to leave our listeners and those who are watching with?
Hmm. What would I like to leave you with? I would say, based on everything that I have shared during our time together, live by design and not by default. Even though it may be uncomfortable, even though it may be unpopular, you deserve. You deserve the absolute best. You deserve to thrive. You deserve to be in environments and situations that celebrate you. We talked a little bit about the workplace, and so many times we're in environments at work where we're tolerated and not celebrated. Go where you feel alive, where you feel passionate, where you feel purposeful, and incorporate some play in your life. Don't be the person who's always working, who's not having any fun. You were designed for more than that. So live life and have life more abundantly.
I
That's what I
love
would
it.
leave
I love
leave
it.
you
I
with.
love it.
Yeah.
I so
Mhm.
appreciate you. Thank you so much. So
You're
again,
welcome.
to those who are watching or listening to an intimate conversation with women of color, today's guest is Ericka Spradley. Erica, I have so enjoyed you. Make sure you all look her up. Again, I will share contact information for Erica. I don't know if you're moved by this conversation like I am. I, love the live by design, not default. I mean, that's powerful right there because I think so many are living by default, and we need to change that. And so, Erica, your conversation definitely will help, many to start living by design. So I so appreciate you, and you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Deneen. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Goodbye.
Bye bye.